Our very own Allison Brown is out and about in the tri-state area this morning. Let us check in with her now.
That's right. She is live in Hannibal, Missouri. Good morning, Allison.
Well, it's Monday morning, and sometimes it's hard to wake up at the beginning of a work week. To help me this morning to help with that is Daryl Dennis, the star of Tales of an Urban Indian. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, so tell us a little bit about why are you deciding to tell your story?
Why am I deciding to tell my story? Well, when I originally wrote Tales of an Urban Indian, I was a native actor in the film and television industry and theater, and a lot of the roles that I was going for were very stoic, you know, sort of, white man disgraced our village sort of thing. And that really wasn't the reality of what I was growing up with and the people I surrounded myself with. So I wrote Tales of an Urban Indian as sort of, just sort of to get that out and to tell my life story and to sort of show an audience, you know, what it's really like for modern day Native Americans in North America these days. And I wrote it 12 years ago, and the play's been going like strong ever since. I've been doing it on and off since then. It's traveled all over North America, and now we get to do it here in Hannibal.
Oh, wow. So what can people expect from your show? Oh,
you can expect it's a bit of a roller coaster of a ride. It tells the story. It's a one-man show, semi-autobiographical, based on my life. And it goes there's some very dark things in it, but also a lot of comedy, a lot of humor. And I play something like 40 characters in there, everything from my grandmother, my best friends, to talking cockroaches. It's an incredible experience.
Oh, wow. And there's a twist to this show. So what's the twist?
The twist is when you come see theater, you're actually seeing the show done on a moving transit bus. And we will drive around the city of Hannibal, and it'll sync up with different parts of the script.
Oh, wow. So as you just heard it, we have a moving comedy show coming up. We'll tell you even more about Tales of an Urban Indian.
All right, thanks, Allison. I saw the transit bus in the Tom Sawyer Day Parade, July 4th, and I went, there's not a mass transit system in Hannibal. Now I know.
Now it's all come together for
and
you.
They also had big banners on the side of the bus, which also kind of tipped me off. But now, you know, checking in with our friend Allison Brown, who is live this morning in America's hometown with a new play with a new twist.
All right, well, with me this morning is Joe Anderson, the man who's responsible for bringing Tales of an Urban Indian to Hannibal. So how did you hear about Daryl's show?
Well, actually, Allison, I'm Canadian, and for many years I was chair of the board of a similar theater in Canada, and we got to work with Daryl there, and I really fell in love with this play. And when we decided to open Bluff City Theater here in Hannibal, we were looking for a play that we could do site-specific and not have to have a theater building to perform it in. And this one immediately came to mind, so we contacted Daryl, and he's agreed to work with us this year.
Okay. Now, I know earlier we were talking about saying that you hope people learn something from his show. What do you hope people learn from this show?
Well, I'm a big believer that as well as entertaining people, theater should also give people, audiences, something to think about. And this play, while it's very funny, it's also extremely moving. It deals with some very important issues. And you know, my hope is that when people leave the play, that they'll still be thinking about it 2 or 3 days later.
Okay, now as you just heard from Mr. Anderson, he wants you to laugh, but he also wants you to think. Coming up, we'll tell you even more about Tales of an Urban Indian.
All right, so you can laugh there, and then you're going to look at your forecast and scratch your head and do a little thinking.
Yeah, hopefully you're not going to laugh at the forecast either, but it's also time right now to check with the KHQA's own Allison Brown, who is out and about this morning in America's hometown.
She's at the Bluff City Theater. What you doing there, Allison?
All right, so we're up this morning talking about Tales of an Urban Indian, and the star of this show is with me, Mr. Daryl Dennis. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the characters. Now, you play one specific character, Simon. Tell me a little bit about him.
Okay, Simon Douglas is sort of based on me. He's my sort of alter ego in the play. He's a young boy who grows up on a reservation, moves to the city, gets sort of mixed up in the darker side of life there, and in some ways finds some sort of form of redemption in that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit more about some of the main characters that people might really resonate with in your show.
Okay, well, I guess one of them is my grandmother. It's based on my grandmother back on the reservation, and she's a very feisty old lady. You know, I think we all know one of those ladies, and maybe have one in there. She's wields this fly swatter that she's always, you know, keeping justice with, and with the fly swatter. There's, you know, a series of girlfriends, teachers. Parents. There's this one, there's an ultra liberal guy that you know, stepfather sort of guy, and yeah. So there's all sorts of different people that a lot of people will recognize from their own life.
Okay, so I know you do voices, so let me hear your grandmother's voice.
Okay, well, she's feisty. She's like, Tina, sit down already. Move closer. Respect your elders. That's my grandmother.
Okay, now what about, let's say, a girlfriend?
Okay. Well, I have this one girlfriend who's just sort of like, oh, hi there, it's great to meet you. And, you know, this is West Coast, right? So it's like, hi, my name is Tina, and everything's just fabulous.
Okay, so those are some of the light characters. Tell me a little bit, very briefly, about a dark character.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of this deals with a lot of the sort of Skid Row area in there. So there's some drug addicts in there and some alcoholics and stuff. But you know, we try to get a little humanity into these characters as well too. You know, and not make them cliche.
Okay, now as you just heard from Daryl, there's some light and there's some dark, but it all is funny. Coming up, we'll tell you even more about the tales of an urban Indian.
Sounds interesting. I'm always impressed too when you have a one-man play and he does all the different characters and the voices and stuff.
Well, and he can turn it on and off just like that,
Yeah.
too. He was able to go from his grandmother to his girlfriend.
And we've talked about before, she didn't mention that particular segment, it's on a moving bus.
Yes.
So that adds something to it.
Well, now that we got that out of our systems, let's begin. I apologize for the mystical native soundtrack, but I'm about to tell a story, and that requires a fitting Indian ceremony. Since I'm an urban Indian, I have to settle for whatever pan-Indian imagery I can find. Not very celestial, but it keeps me regular. You see, I'm what's referred to as one of the lucky ones. I wasn't forced to go to residential school. I wasn't adopted out. I never got sick from a Hudson Bay blanket. The worst thing my Indian agent ever did was take 15% commission on a theater gig. I like concrete. I get lost
Watch
when I'm in the
KHQA
woods.
News at 5
I
and
can't
learn about the other
shapeshift,
40
never
characters
had a
in
vision,
Tales of an Urban
never
Indian.
heard the owl call my name, and I've never cried when